everybody. Welcome back to another live session. As always, so happy to be back. I changed the setup behind me today, so as you come on, I think it's kind of a funky setup. I'm in my shared space in my office, and I think kind of like the visuals in the background. I like the visuals in the background today, so we're going to see. Trying to roll with different setups. It's going to be funky. You get kind of this reflection of the street. So again, just playing around with it. So welcome. If it's your first time here, my name is Jeff H. Sipe. My business is practiceinterviews.com. I do interview coaching, one-on-one negotiation coaching, and we have a special offer today, $100 off of our interview mastery course if you use the coupon code FREEZE. So definitely check that out. I have kind of hinted to my overall email list that I will be doing like a bigger holiday discount. Again, that's going to come later in the year. It'll be like a last chance for the end of December. So keep your eyes on that. On practiceinterviews.com, we have 9 free resources that you can download. They're all killer. Join our Slack group. We have about 3,700 members in that Slack group. It's completely free. People are helping each other out. So I love the Slack group as well. No new video this week, so nothing to really tap into there. Obviously, we'll touch on current economic times. Obviously, the theme today is everything's like kind of freezing and slowing down, which is pretty typical for December anyway. So we'll just keep a pulse on that. As always, I am here to answer all the questions today. I think based on how busy it is today, I'm going to kind of decide whether today will be the shutdown and I'll shut down for the rest of the year, which I'm thinking I might do. But again, would love your opinion on whether you want more videos or more lives this year. At most, I'll just go live one more time this year, and then I would shut down. So let's dive in. As last week, we're just going to have to see the flow of questions. Last week was a little shorter, just under an hour. I'm here to answer any questions. And remember, it's not just questions, comments. If you like what we're doing today, smash that like button. If you've never subscribed, I do new content videos every other Monday. I go live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. Let's dive in. Hey, Joe. Recently received an offer from Google. Awesome. Yesterday, in fact, and just wanted to say thanks. The CFAS method, which has been updated to CFAS now, and you also negotiated a higher salary. Keep trying, people. It will happen for you. Joe, thank you so much. Things are super, super slow. But when Joe shows up, it just shows us what's possible. It shows us that people are getting hired. It's slow. Remember, all hires right now are on a needs basis. So if you look at any of these big companies, you know, we're down 50% on hires, but 50% of hires at these companies like a Google, they still have probably over 2,000 job openings, right? So they're still out there. Now, obviously, that's 2,000 globally. So it's not a huge number when you really break it down, but still some opportunities. Thanks so much, Joe, and good luck. Thanks for being here and saying that. I appreciate it. Hi, Jeff. I was told that once you pass the on-site, and you're an approved candidate in the system, you are not allowed to change employers during the 12 months before you find a team. That is a 100% incorrect statement. That would mean that they would have all the control over your life, right? And that's just absolutely not true. Sometimes people are changing jobs like very late in the process, and they just end up staying at that job for a month and then ultimately move on and pick Google. I think this is Google, right? I would guess. So absolutely not a true statement. They do not have that control. They do not have that over you. If you switch jobs, ultimately get in the team match, and even if it's for a short period of time, you would just have to burn a bridge, ask for forgiveness, and kind of make that move, okay? But that's not a true statement, okay? So that's good news, okay? Any advice for nailing team matching call? Have upcoming one for a strategy and ops role. I always go back to my default items on team match, always. There's only a few key things you need to do. First of all, as people know, and you can kind of see my reflection in the back today, I stand for all my lives. Why? Because I have more energy. I have more pitch and tone in my voice. I strongly encourage, if you're physically capable, to stand. You'll get more richness and more pitch, more tone out of your voice. So Energy is really important. Come in with that energy, enthusiasm. Be prepared for questions like, tell me about yourself. Why Google? Why this team? Why this position? Be ready for those kinds of questions and know that these are wild card conversations, meaning everything's on the table. The typical is they'll come in, they'll ask you a couple questions, they'll tell you more about the role, and then they'll kick it back to you for that last piece. The questions you should ask should be more about them to start. Why would I want to hire somebody who doesn't ask me anything about myself? What do you love about the company? What do you love about the role? What's the coolest thing you're working on right now? What do you love about managing or leading this team? Positive, 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 love, love, love. Start there. If you don't get a chance to ask all your really pressing questions, get them to decide that you're the person who they want to move forward in the team match, and then, and only then, can you really poke. But too many people come in and say, what's the hardest thing about this job? What is the biggest challenge? And all of a sudden, the conversation feels tougher, more painful, more negative. So keep it more positive. Just my recommendation. Okay, so I think I covered that part, the good questions to ask. Any insight into the Chrome team? Not specifically, because first of all, Chrome is big, right? And second of all, it's going to be really dependent on that manager. So remember, you're doing the checks and balances with them too. Any red flags that come from them, but nothing that really shines in regards to the Chrome that's different from other teams. Any devices like Chromebook, Chromecast fall under the Chrome team? That actually is a good question. I don't know the breakdown. I haven't heard of Chromebook or Chromecast falling under the Pixel or Nest team, and I handle a lot of clients in that space. So no, I don't believe that that's the case. I don't even know. Does anybody know if like Chromecast is still a thing now? All the TVs are smart. I mean, I had a couple of. I think in a box somewhere I have a couple of old Chromecasts, but I don't even know if they're still using that. I hope that helps. I'm now in interview mode. Okay, thanks for all you do. Okay, we're going to pop to this next question. Not sure if you saw my initial comment. These sessions have helped me move from procrastination to application, and now you're actively interviewing. I must have, yeah, I didn't see that initial comment, Liz. Okay, okay, good, good. Thanks for pushing, right? And that's kind of what I try to do with some of my videos, get you to push. Hey, Raul, thanks. Today's thumbnails, super dope. Thumbnails are getting dope by the day. Thank you. Obviously, I think anybody who's checked out my thumbnails, they were so bad for so long that I'm trying to have fun with them. Obviously, if you've been with me for a while, kind of stole some themes from the end of last year, so I made it a little bit easier to come up with. But yeah, I'm always having fun with those thumbnails for sure. Just got a data point. The last start date of the year is December 19th, and they need 10 days notice. So if you don't sign an offer by December 9th, you'll have to wait till January. All right, Steve. I don't know who gave you that data point, but from everything I know, it doesn't sound like a valid data point. As far as I know, the last start date is the 12th. I don't know that they've built out one for the 19th because I don't know. It seems a little tough because I think they'd have some floating holidays maybe that week, which would make it trickier for orientation. So I don't know. That's a little bit of confusing messaging. There is something that's really important though. And I'm just going to go with the 12th. If the 19th is opened up, okay, but I don't have that data point. I have not heard that. If you don't start by the 12th is the cutoff to be refresher eligible. Let's talk about what that means. It's bad terminology. So what they'll say is if you don't start this year essentially, and you start in January, you're not eligible for refreshers at Google. That's actually not a true statement. What they should say is refresher guaranteed. Managers have discretion to give you refreshers if you start next year. It's manager discretion. It's just nice to start in December because it makes you eligible and it guarantees them. I know that's confusing. If anybody has any questions about what I just said, please let me know. My recruiter contacted me 2 weeks and 3 days after my virtual on-site with Google. She said they did an initial interview and they would be moving me to the team matching stage. Is that the initial review? And is she talking about hiring committee? So I've been thinking a lot about this, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Google Doc. I'm going to share it with leadership at Google, and I'm going to tell them that this is a category that, for whatever reason, is so confusing and should not be confusing. And this is all on recruiter training. I don't know where you are, because the messaging should be very, very clear. And all they could do is they could just create a YouTube video that clearly outlines like what's going on. So it's very confusing on where you are, because I don't know. It sounds like you had your virtual onsite and they'd be moving you to the team match. So team match oftentimes will happen before hiring committee. So team match is about identifying the correct team with you. And then once you get hiring manager support, you'd be going to hiring committee. But there shouldn't be any gray area, right? They should be making this very clear for you. And I'm sorry that this happens, because the communication is very poor and you're not internal to the organization. So why would you know? But it sounds like you're at the team match stage pre-hiring committee, before hiring committee. Going live with a change of scenery. Is this the last live of the year? And thanks for the consistency through this year's trying times. I'm not sure yet. I had planned on going live next week. If people really want it, I'm definitely willing to do it. It's still on my calendar, and we'll just have to see. Today could be the last thing I do for this YouTube channel this year. So if people really push and press, I just don't think much is going to happen for the next few weeks, but we'll see. It's on my calendar. I think I did pretty good this year. I think maybe there were only a handful of live days that I took off. It's probably going to end up being 40-ish, somewhere in the 40s, low 40s. So I think that's pretty good overall. Thanks for that feedback. Okay. Hey, Molly. Okay, we're coming back to you. We were chatting about this last week. So your meta contract is ending on 1/3/23. You had 4 interviews last week, 2 internal, 2 external. Knowing things slow down later this month, when do you anticipate they'll pick back up? January. I mean, usually mid-January is when you'll see a pickup. I can say like some of these companies are some of the bigger companies, just because of trying to figure out headcount, it can be kind of slow going into January, but this is your opportunity to say, not when is it going to happen, but to keep your foot on the pedal and push, push, push. Okay, so you have an opportunity to just kind of push these recruiters, push these opportunities in a really kind and friendly way. Obviously, if you have some opportunities in front of you, that can help put pressure on the other opportunities. I hope that helps. Hey, Jeff, thank you for doing the live. You currently start a PM interview process at Google. How long should I prepare? Can you postpone if you need more time? Yeah, the amount of preparation is really, really dependent on you, right? And so much of that is, what does the grind look like in your current full-time role? Like, is your full-time role super grindy where you're just working a ton? Because then you're not going to have as much time. If it's a little slower, especially this time of year, you'll have more time. And then I strongly recommend that people calendar out their time. Not an easy thing to do for interviewing, so I get it, but be chunking out time. Now, PM could be program manager or product manager. Typically, PM is product manager. Those interviews are tougher, so I would prepare for a little bit longer. You can postpone. It's always the same conversation. If you had an interview, let's say, set for late this week, sometime next week, you're simply going to email your recruiter and say, I need more time. I just want to know if I'm putting anything at risk by pushing out my interview. And if they say yes, hey, you got to put the pressure on yourself and take that interview. If they say no, okay. Is there always a little bit of gray area if you push that you could give something up? Of course, especially in today's market, but your recruiter should have a pulse. They should be able to tell you, hey, look, it's not a big deal. And that's what I would say as your recruiter. I would say, hey, we're early stage, or you're one of only a couple people. Don't worry about it. And then if it's a good recruiter, they should keep you updated to say, hey, like Sue's doing really well in her interviews. I suggest that you jump in as quickly as possible. So again, we know good recruiters are not always the case, but that's what a good recruiter would and should do. Okay. expecting a decision on my candidature in Google this week. My presentation round was held about 2.5 weeks back. The recruiter mentioned that they are interviewing other candidates. Is this usual? Yeah, I mean, sometimes they're going to stack rank, right? They want to see what other candidates have to bring to the table. Maybe you were first, maybe you were second, maybe you were the best person that they saw out of the initial group of people. So sometimes I just want them to move forward when they have the best candidate, but not everybody's willing to do that. Sometimes they want to see more. So you're just going to have to sit tight. And obviously, I strongly recommend that you stay in touch with your recruiter. And good luck. Thanks. I like being here, right? I know so much of this is confusing and tricky, and I like showing up for the community, and the community holds each other up, right? And that's why I love people getting into the Slack group, because it's all about, that's a very community-driven platform. Like I'm rarely in there, once or twice a week. So thank you for that, though. Hey, Jeff, your next step in the PM interview is meeting the PM before the on-site steps. What should I expect, and can I be eliminated from that stage? My next step in the PM interview is they've set you up probably with this is probably like one of those calls where they set you up where somebody who's in the role is willing to talk to you about the role and answer all your questions. Can't be eliminated from that stage unless you throw in some major red flags. But no, this is just intended to help you kind of figure out a little bit more about the role, understand the position, ask some tough questions. So that's what it sounds like. It's like one of these meetings that they do for a number of roles to just get you to learn more about the organization. Hey, Jeff, update on my end. Had your first team match on Friday and got a verbal offer and initial comp numbers today. In the final negotiation stages right now, hoping for a formal offer by next week. Okay. So just remember, the formal offer, congrats, by the way, amazing. The formal offer is whatever, we got to negotiate. Let's forget about that formal offer. I heard from a client this morning, a client who I did interview practice with. We haven't worked together on the negotiation. And they said that they were really pushing on the base and sign-on, but hadn't pushed on the equity at all. Remember, in negotiations with big tech companies, typically equity is going to be the most flexible. And 100% at a company like a Google, oftentimes that initial equity number can be at least doubled. So if you are negotiating, make sure you have a strong push on equity. It is the thing that they will flex on the most. It's least risky for them. You actually have to stay for 4 full years to realize all that equity. So it's a very, very easy item to push on. Just my 2 cents. Keep us posted. Come back and let us know how it goes. I passed the virtual on-site a couple months ago. Still haven't been invited to fit calls, just one so far. My recruiter told me my application is being considered passive. Do you know what that means? I've never heard of any recruiter using that terminology. Again, this is where the lack of appropriate training is just getting really, really painful, right? If you have a passive application, that probably means that your application, I'm guessing, probably means your application is still open, and as a potential team match come up, you'll be considered. It's really, I just want you to go back to your recruiter and be like, what does that mean? What does passive mean? You are not internal to the organization, and that's just a painful statement. Okay. I hope that helps. Just double check with them, but that's what I think it is. Hey, Jeff. Had a technical phone screen, but I learned after that it was for an L4 program manager role. I now have an L6 technical phone screen on Thursday. What can I expect differently? L4 program manager role, now you have an L6 technical phone screen. Gil, I need more information. So now are you going after an L6 TPM? Because an L6 TPM is still that initial phone conversation is usually a mix of technical domain and program management. Come back and tell us more. Hi, any insights on dev advocate roles in Bay? Also, total comp for a dev advocate versus product marketing. Okay, so I have worked with some dev advocates. That does seem to be like it was a little bit deprioritized, quite honestly, but that's just the couple of people that I worked with. So I can't say holistically, remember, it's on a needs basis. Um, Product marketing and dev advocate, I would think would be somewhat similar with a little higher comp leaning towards the dev advocate just because of the technical component, whereas product marketing is just not as, doesn't have that technical component. Jeff, could you explain what we should start December 12th to be eligible for freshers once again? Yeah, so again, the terminology is really bad. So what does that mean? Let's say that 19th date is viable. Maybe they added the 19th just to get more people in the door. It's always possible, right? Data and information is changing. As of yesterday, I knew it was the 12th. So I don't know. Again, remember that can change overnight. So definitely, if that's new information, great. That's part of this community. I love that information is always coming our way. So what this means, whatever it is, and I love that you put it this way, you start in December, the last time you can start in December, you're refresher eligible next year. What does that mean? You'll work all of next year and you'll get refreshers late next year, early 2024, okay? And that means even if you're in the needs improvement category, which is the bottom 5% of Google in terms of your rating, you still get refreshers. It wouldn't be a great refresher grant, but you'll get them. Now, what they're saying is if you start in January, again, the word is wrong. You are not technically falling in that guaranteed eligibility, meaning that at this point, starting in January, it's manager discretion. So let's get into it. What does that mean? Let's say I'm you and I start whatever that second week in January is. Like, I think it's the 9th or something. Let's just call it the 9th. I don't know if that's the right date. You start on the 9th. Now, is your manager, let's call your manager Sue. Everybody knows my fake person is always Sue. Let's say your manager is Sue. You work 11 months and 11 and a half months. Is your manager Sue, if you crush it all year, going to say, hey, everybody else on the team gets refreshers, but you don't because you started just in the beginning of January? It's unlikely, okay? If you performed well, your manager is going to use that discretion to give you refreshers. All it means is that if you start in December, it is guaranteed 100% you're going to get refreshers. No matter how big or how small, you're going to get some. Whereas if you start in January or any other time next year, they are not guaranteed. I hope that helps. I know it's super confusing, and the word eligible is wrong, but I think they use that word to just draw a line in the sand and make people believe that they won't get refreshers, and then they get excited. I also don't agree with the line. I don't think if you say, okay, you started on the 12th of December, you're going to get refreshers, and then this person who starts the first week in January all of a sudden doesn't, but the contribution in 2023 is the same, to me, that just doesn't make a lot of sense. You were referring to the PGM interview process with Google. All right, let's just go back to that. Yeah, okay. So again, same feedback. Sticking with the theme of the live, there's always talk about hiring freezes, but from my perspective, when on LinkedIn and applying for jobs, it seems that these companies that claim to be doing hiring freezes are still hiring. It's confusing to me. They're absolutely still doing hiring. The freeze is, I'm just doing the YouTube thing to get people in, like there are freezes and there are freezes for certain positions, but they're still hiring the roles that they really need to hire for. Okay. So absolutely this hiring still is going on. And then practiceinterviews.com. It's kind of funny. I haven't used these banners. Oh, all my banners went away. I had banners before, but just go to practiceinterviews.com and that will, you'll be able to find the Slack group. It'll be right on the top. Hey, Jeff, I recently got a job for a consultancy company. I was hired for a developer role, but now I'm getting training in for a Linux admin. How should I tell my PM I don't want to be in this role? Okay, this is a great question. This is incredibly common in the job market, right? So I would go to your manager and I would say, this is the job description. These are the requirements that I hired, and I'm willing to take on more. But if you're asking me to do a completely different role, that wasn't part of the job that I signed up for. We need to have a really open dialogue and candid conversation. And if they just say, look, this is the job you're going to do, you're going to do this, we need you to learn it, this is what the organization needs. Okay, thank you so much. Go back, do it, and then find another job. And I know that that's very easy for me to say, but the reality is that this is a huge challenge point when companies hire for a job description and then they change the job on you. By the way, this this happened to me, and it ended up being a good thing in my career. I was hired, the company pre-Google, I was hired to recruit sales representatives. This was for a medical device company. And the goal was to recruit them, learn more about their roles, and then I wanted to become a sales rep because I really like the people-facing thing. I like sales. And so like a week or two into the job, they started giving me finance and accounting roles to work on. And then ultimately, I got software engineers to recruit, which is great because it opened the door for Google. But the reality is that the role they hired me for and the role they gave me were very, very different. And I didn't really fight back on that. So I want you to, but just remember, if this is really away from what you want to do, have that very candid conversation, do what they say. But if they say, hey, no, this is what you're doing, find another job. And then you'll have a very easy story to tell you. Just say, when you're interviewing for other companies, you've only been with that company for a while. The role significantly changed. I've had a great experience and I'm really enjoying learning this new space. But I was hired to do X, and that's the role I really want to do. And that's why I'm excited about this opportunity. You know, it's a lot of feedback. Come back and Alberto, and let me know if you have more questions. But yeah, you got to have a really candid conversation. All right, Lisa. In July, you passed the GCA, GNL, and RK team match with hiring manager for a PDM role. All right. Then hit hiring pause, which was dragged on. Your videos were key in the prep. Thank you. Okay, Lisa, should I expect the recruiter or hiring manager to proactively think of me when roles get released? You should not. So, gotta build the cadence with the recruiter. Say to them, and I'm gonna come back to this, say to them on team match and hit the pause, which was dragged on. Gotta build that cadence with your recruiter. How often should I be touching base? Every week, every 2 weeks, every month? You have to remind them of you. We do not want to give the control of them. You got to take all that control, okay? Take the control back. Stay in touch with them, especially if you're in a good stage. Try and drive it through the recruiter as much as you can. Yes, for a product manager role, you already met with the PM that described the job at Google. I guess I'll be meeting with a potential hiring manager. Would it be behavioral or perhaps other areas? Hiring manager conversations are total wild card interviews. Every hiring manager is different and they are not given a ton of criteria on what they can ask and can't ask, right? I'm the hiring manager. I'm going to make my own decisions, even if I'm given guidance. So expect and be ready for anything. Hey, Jeff, start the interview process soon at Google for a CE role. I've seen some of your videos and trying to summarize the most important things. But the more I watch your videos, the more I think this is getting more and more. What would you say? What exactly should I really concentrate on learning? I can freak people out a little bit. Let's just be candid, because remember, I'm super fortunate. I have this great opportunity to constantly learn from my clients. I am only where I am today because of my clients, because I have an opportunity to learn. And what I find is it's more and more and more. There's only 3 things that I focus in on with clients. Okay, so let's talk about it. I focus in on structure, organization, and level of detail. So structure, you have to know how to implement the STAR method for behavioral questions and CFAS for open-ended questions. The structure is easy. Next, how do you organize the data within that structure? That is much more challenging. You've got to stay organized within the structure, and then level of detail. We've got to get into the how. Okay, so the how is going to be critical in your behavioral answers. So you tell me what you did, but support it with hows. Same on the open-ended side. You've got to tell me how you're going to solve for it, which means don't keep it too high level, make specific assumptions and solve. We could get into the weeds here quite a bit, but with my clients, I focus in on those 3 items. And those are the 3 areas. If you can get those 3 areas pretty good, you'll do great. Structure should be the easiest. Organization's a little tougher, and right level of detail is the toughest. Okay, we're at the 30s. I'm going to do a quick prompt. If you use the coupon code FREEZE today and today only, $100 off, special offer on our interview mastery course. I do interview coaching one-on-one, negotiation coaching one-on-one, and then we have a ton of free resources. Just check out practiceinterviews.com. If you like what we're doing today, smash that like button. If you've never subscribed, consider subscribing to our channel. I go live every Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. New original content videos every other Monday. Do you still offer the 30% coupon on your interview mastery course? Today, it's going to be, just today, $100 off for freeze. I did run a special Black Friday deal. That's the lowest I've ever gone. So that deal is no longer available. I can tell you I will be doing a late end of year holiday push, but for today, if you use freeze, it's $100 off, which is 20%. Had 6 interviews in October last year and HC, went with another candidate. If I apply again now for the same role, do you need to go through all the interviews again? I was referred by a previous manager as you've worked as a TVC before. Yep, Bruno, you got to go through all of it again, okay? But here's the good news. Clearly you're a good interviewer because you made it to HC last time. Good learning opportunities, think back, reflect back on those good learning opportunities, 1, okay? And then secondarily, there is a huge advantage to being a TVC. You understand the landscape, you understand what's happening. So 2 huge opportunities for you, okay? So keep at it, but unfortunately, yes, you are gonna have to do all the interviews again, okay? For all in the community, the status of job posts on the Google Careers website is not the true reflection of the status quo inside the organization. Okay, Raul, why don't you, Raul is like our data guru on our Slack channel. And Raul, please let us know if you accepted the job and you've gone all the way through the process, please. Maybe you can help define what you're saying a little bit more for the community. Let's outline that a little bit. Hey Jeff, I'm 3 months into my technical writer role at Google. Your videos are great prep and nailed the culture there. Okay, great. Awesome on the tech writer thing. That is not an easy position to land. That is definitely both sides of the brain working in collaboration, and that's rare for most people. And my good friend Scott, you can probably have him to thank. He revamped that whole technical writer recruiting process while I was working at Google, and he made it a lot better. He was really amazing. I have competing offers with an upcoming deadline, and I was told from my recruiter at G that I will not hear back from HC this year. I'm worried that it will be hard to negotiate if I get an offer next year without standing a competing offer. If one of those 2 jobs is something that you're really interested in and excited about, and like is good comp and it has everything you want, I strongly encourage you to take the job and not wait on Google. Secondarily, this is a huge misconception that you need a competing offer to get a really good offer from Google. It's rarely the case, and here's why. Rarely do competing offers meet Google's compensation level. So most of the time, we are competing with Google itself, not taking these competing offers to drive up our comp. It's very, very rare. It's only in a small percentage where the competing offer is really powerful and it's going to drive your Google offer up. And this is just one of the worst pieces of data online. People say, I need competing, I need competing. You're competing against Google itself, not with your competing offer, okay? I hope that helps. Take one of those other offers. Don't wait on Google. And then, hey, let's say they come back early next year. You've only been at that company for a month or two. Burn the bridge. If Google's where you want to go, burn the bridge. We just have to do this stuff in our careers. We got to watch out for ourselves, right? When these big companies have layoffs or rescind offers, they're not looking out for our best interests. So I know it's like really tough and we want to do what's right. And obviously I'm a really positive person and I believe in doing the right thing. But when it comes to the job market, we just got to watch out for ourselves. It's a delay. Okay, Liz. All right, what does CFAS stand for? CFAS. Most of the people here, I think most of the community here knows what that stands for, but CFAS is clarify, framework, assumptions, solution. So when you get I want you to imagine, how would you do X? What would you do in X scenario? Use CFAS. We clarify. We come in, there's so much ambiguity. If you dive in and answer the question without questioning the question, I am going to doubt that you're going to question things on the job, either or in yes or no questions. The framework, most simplistically, is your answer. The framework is, okay, in order to solve for that, I'd focus in on these 3, 4, 5, 8 items. You mention those items. Then our assumptions bring this big thing and we narrow the focus down. Otherwise, your answer is going to be super generic, boring, and your interviewer is going to fall asleep. So we make specific assumptions that are very role specific, and then we solve. So that's CFAS. I hope that helps. If you can, Liz, if you can just send me a quick message in the chat, the online chat on the website, and we'll just to remind me, and I'll just have it in my queue, and we'll fix that Slack invite. Sometimes it doesn't work. Okay. I've seen you say that team matching can get dragged on for months. I'm curious, what is the longest you can stay in team matching before they essentially give up on you? Okay. And also, if team matching gets dragged on, is it wise to take another job at a FAANG company knowing you may leave for Google after a few months? So absolutely yes to the second piece. Most of us aren't going from FAANG or Manga or whatever we're calling it these days. Most of us are not going from one to the other. So normally for most of us regular human beings, right? Like we make a jump, we're going from unknown company or less known company to big company. It usually means the compensation is going to be better. The branding is going to be really good for our background. Don't wait on Google. That's putting all the control in their hands. You take the control by accepting the job, and then you may need to burn a bridge. Now, getting back to this piece, seen all sorts of crazy stuff. It can, for anybody who's been with the community for a long time, we had Tina, our most famous ABP, that's Administrative Business Partner. This was all during good economic times. This was pre-freeze. She was in the team match stage for about a year. It can take a long time. She had probably 10 plus team matches. Now that's a little bit more common for ABPs for it to be stretched out, but it can last a long time. If it's lasting a long time and you continue to get team match opportunities, it means they like you. It's just kind of going to be a match on just finding the right team. Okay. I hope that helps. Hey, Jeff, how many hire and leaning hire interview scores are required to be considered for a role? Is a lean hire in the first RRK round good enough for a second round call? Sometimes. Remember, the actual score and the feedback aren't always 100% aligned. So to say that somebody couldn't get hired with all lean hires across the board, they could. Somebody who has all hires across the board might not. So it's less about the overall score and just the overall feedback and feel. So don't worry too much about that. Obviously, we want more hires and strong hires, but leaning hires do not stop you from moving forward in the process. My on-site PM interview in January 2023, and I have practiced mock interviews with a Google PM through the rec. Should I do the Google PM mock interview? Rec said, wouldn't go against me if I don't do well. Yeah. We want to practice as much as we can, okay? I can't emphasize that enough. I know 100% that people don't do enough one-on-one interview practice with another human being. Look, you don't have to do it with me, but just do it with other people. You have to fail and fumble and stumble through it, because the repetition of speaking your answers out loud will be incredibly impactful when you get in the interview, because you'll just be in more of a flow state. Go back to my first YouTube video, go back to my first live session. Did it come across this clean and crisp? I don't know if this is very clean and crisp, but I've done it enough times. I've said these things out loud. I've interacted with the audience that it would be a totally different experience from now to the beginning. Now, it's a lot of years, right? But the reality is that the more we practice doing and being in that type of environment, the better we do. And so you get more comfortable. So just make sure you're doing as much one-on-one practice as you can. Sorry, everybody, I'm caffeinating and hydrating. Thanks, Jeff. For the team match interviews, is it typically just an HM, then straight to HC, or offer if they like me, or will there be additional interviews? Shouldn't be. Typically, there's not additional interviews. Occasionally, they're like, okay, I like this candidate a lot. There's just one missing data point, and I would hire them if they do well in this interview. It's a little bit of an outlier. It's definitely much less common. Sometimes they like you and they want you to speak to other members of the team. That's a little bit more common. It's possible, but pretty unlikely. Hey, thanks for the videos. Absolutely. You explain what happens in the HC stage. If the hiring manager gives the okay, what is HC doing? HC is a group of your potential future peers who are taking a look at your resume, any past interview feedback, any current interview feedback, and saying, this is somebody who not only looks like a match for this role, but a match for the future. HC are people who are totally removed from the process. They've never spoken to you. They've never interacted with you. It's a good step, in my opinion. It helps remove bias from the hiring process. Is HC perfect? No, but that's what they're trying to do. But they are peers, meaning people in like or similar roles are reviewing the information. So that's where it's helpful. I hope that answers your question, Steve. Oh, and Tina's here. Awesome. I never know when Tina's going to pop up. Of course, I give you a shout out on the day you show up. So again, Tina is our Rockstar AVP. If you join the Slack group, Tina has been very, very kind with her time to help AVPs in the process. Not that she can get to every question, every comment, every need that people have, but she's been amazing, and you are amazing, and thank you for being here. All right, to expand on my last comment, some roles may be open but not posted to the Google Careers website. Therefore, the Careers website might not be the ultimate source of truth in terms of open roles. Kind of. Yes. I mean, like legally, they're supposed to post any open roles legally, and they tend to follow that. I agree. I don't think it happens 100% of the time. I think there are things that happen, but legally, especially in the US, I know they're supposed to at least. How long does it usually take to hear back from the HM for a team match call? How long does it typically take from that point? Can't give you the timeline. Everything is random. I mean, after a team match, you should definitely hear back within a week. If you haven't heard back, follow up with your recruiter. The process after that, after you team match to go to hiring committee, that should be a week, 2 max, and then negotiating. I usually drag out negotiations to get what people want. So you could be looking at another month plus. It's a slow process. What score the hiring manager should give you for you to be eliminated from the process? The hiring manager scored you a no hire. Would you be able to go to the virtual on-site? Thank you. Yeah. No. If your first interview with the hiring manager or anybody else is a no hire, it's either SNH strong no hire or NH no hire. You're not moving on. That would be very, very uncommon. Hey Jeff, for alphabet companies which are not yet public, which stock do we get RSU? Is it Google stock or options? Yeah, it's options. So it's not Google stock. If you work for alphabet companies, part of working for Alphabet is your compensation is going to have more risk, right? So I don't know if everybody knows this, but I interviewed with Waymo, Google's self-driving car division while I was at Google. And, ultimately I came in second. They decided to move forward with somebody else. It's a pretty good story. I definitely did not restate a GCA question. I answered the wrong question, and 10 minutes in, I realized I was answering the wrong question. I reset, I answered the right question. They said it was very close, but I came in second. I said, oh yeah, because I messed up that question, which was definitely the case. But even if I had got the role, this is a long story to get there, but it was something that I wasn't 100% ready for because, the shares would not have had Google stock. And that's obviously such a big part of joining the company from a comp perspective. Hey, Jeff, thanks for the amazing thumbnails. Awesome. I guess the freeze is still in place. No matter which role I apply, I'm getting rejected. For some roles. Now, if you're applying for roles, those roles are viable and shouldn't be considered frozen, right? So keep trying. What I tell everybody with the referrals is we just got to push our referrals, and we got to be honest about it. There's a couple of things. We got to be honest and just say our referrer's name is Jane. Just say, Jane, I got to lean on you a little bit. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to get in, and I'm just going to have to annoy you a little bit. And we can bribe them a little bit, and a good bribe, right? Like, hey, I know you love pepperoni pizza, so I got you a gift certificate to this best pepperoni pizza shop just to say thank you for all the referrals. I know bribe probably isn't the right word, but we just want to be really gracious and kind to the people that are helping us. But you just got to push on them a little bit, okay? People who care about you will try and help. Okay, hi Jeff, I was always wondering, in all the rankings of companies like Google, Facebook, HP, etc., make dream workplaces. On the other hand, an average length of people staying there is circa 3 years. Why is it so? I can give you this exact answer. The data for organizations like Google, Facebook, HP, it's skewed because of software engineers. And it's particularly skewed because of more junior level software engineers, specifically new grads or people who have been in their SWE career or SDE career for 5 or less years. They tend to change jobs a lot, which they should. I strongly recommend it. I don't want an engineer starting at Google and staying there for 10 or 15 years. That sounds boring. I want them to jump around. Go to a big company, go to a small company, really check out their skills. But I think that that's where you're going to see the averages come down. It seems to me that it's heavily weighted by these companies being largely dependent on software engineers, especially a lot of junior level engineers. Whereas if you were to really look at the tenure in roles like product or program management or some of these other positions, that the average career length would probably be much longer. Great question. To answer this, I've heard you make more money by switching companies often than getting promoted internally. This is a 100% for the most part a true statement, especially if you're good at negotiating. And I have a friend, I'm not going to name him, but I had a friend who did like 3 recruiting pivots in 3 years. And I mean, I think he like doubled or tripled his income by doing it. So it is something that if you're happy somewhere and you really like your manager, I would really maybe second guess that move. But if you're really trying to up your income, especially if you're very good at interviewing and very good at negotiating, absolutely jumping around. And if you know how to pitch that and say, I'm really happy in my current role. I've just always been excited by this company, and I was really excited by your opportunity. So I'm really happy where I am, but I saw an opportunity. I have an opportunity to chat with you right now. So I'm really excited. So if you position that correctly, you can absolutely jump up your comp quite a bit in a short period of time. All right, signed the Google offer. Wish good luck to everyone in the process. The process takes longer and the conversation, so hold on a little longer. Amazing. I mean, the fact that you hung out with us, I know it's late your time, so amazing, and hopefully you'll hang out in the Slack community for a little while. Congrats. been a long haul, and that's the case for a lot of people who are watching now. So just hang out. It is possible. Yes, congrats, Raul. Apologize, join late. That's okay. That's what I'm here for. Pass your own site and have not gotten this far without all your videos. Any advice for the team match calls? Yeah, so I did answer that earlier, so I'll go a little briefer with this answer. Stand. Great energy and excitement and enthusiasm. You cannot come in flat. Bring up the energy. Great answer is to tell me about yourself. Why Google? Why this position? Okay. And then at the end, questions that have a positive tone that are focused in on them. What do you love about the company? The role. What's the coolest thing you're working on? What do you love about managing it or leading a team? Positive, positive, positive. You're probably not going to have a ton of time for questions. Stop with the really negative, challenging questions at the end. It just drags them down and leads them to want to hire somebody else. I hope that helps. Apply to additional roles online. How long does it take to hear? There is no set period of time. If you have not heard back in 4 weeks, assume that they've moved on with others. Thanks, Jeff, for the advice. Watching this from an overnight train from Sydney to Melbourne. Amazing. I've had the opportunity to visit Sydney, which was absolutely unbelievable. It's kind of like I always look at Sydney as like the sister city to San Diego. Never been to Melbourne, so that's definitely on my bucket list. So awesome. Awesome. Enjoy the ride. Congratulations. Yes. Thank you so much, Raul, for all the Slack community content. Yeah, when do you start? And then please stay in touch from the other side. Okay, we are out of questions. So I'm sure a few more questions will come up. Let's kind of, I'll go into a little bit of my wrap up now, and then I'm happy to answer any last minute questions that come in. This is still a really good engagement from my standpoint. You know, I think getting close to an hour at this part of the end of the year with so few people hiring, you know, it's encouraging me to come back one last time. So I will come back next week and do a live. I'll commit to that right now, just so we can keep this going, because the engagement over the last couple of weeks, while it's been a little bit less, it's still been good. All right, let's grab these questions. If the role is not applicable anymore and your application is closed, how do you back considered for other roles? This is if the recruiter is MIA. Yeah, I mean, if you're, now it depends on what stage you're in, right? If the recruiter's MIA, but the stages have closed down, there's really nothing we can do. So you might just have to start back from scratch. Now, if you made it all the way to team match, for example, and then they just go cold on you, that's something else. So please let us know. Appreciate your interest in questions. Absolutely. I've got my Google interviews on Thursday and Friday. Thank you so much for the content. Yeah, absolutely. Remember, prep. We're only at Tuesday and then Thursday. Half an hour minimum, an hour before the interviews shut down. All the data and science shows that we give up massive amounts of brain connectivity. We exhaust our brain quite a bit if we prep right up to the last minute. So build in some space, okay? That's going to be super, super helpful. Just make sure that you don't prep right up to the last minute. Good luck, and come back next week and let us know how it goes. And the hiring freeze is no longer there. The headcount is low. Yeah, low headcount, exactly. Yeah, so again, I'm going to come in right on this. You should only get referrals from people you know. So occasionally I'll, like, in a very gentle and kind way in the Slack community, somebody will come in and say, hey, like, I'm here to get referred to roles. Not the point, right? So referrals should come from people you know. And if the two of you know each other, okay, but, you know, or built a relationship on Slack through DMing, that's one thing. But just remember, I strongly encourage people to get referrals of people they know. Just my 2 cents. I applied to Google through a referral, but couldn't go through the recruiter screening. Is there a way to get my profile through the first round of screening? I mean, the recruiter screen, the reason why we don't make it through recruiter screens is usually a couple of items. So one is one is just it's not a match for the role. Like this recruiter has worked with a lot of people, and they have other people who are better aligned. Secondarily, like I think it is very important with these recruiter calls. What I would look for is the candidate on time? Do they communicate well? Are they responsive to me, right? Because sometimes they would miss it and they'd say, oh, I knew it was just a call with you, so I skipped it. No, they're out of the process. They didn't take me seriously. And so just make sure that you show a lot of respect and graciousness and kindness to recruiters, even though I know sometimes that can be difficult. But usually when you get bounced from that stage, it's just they have people who have a better fit from a background perspective. Can you go back to Google as a TVC for a third time? Yes, you can. I mean, unless there's a new rule, but I saw people coming and going all the time. And that's not uncommon to see people do it multiple times. So I guess, Bruno, you've been through it twice. So not unreasonable. And if you like that, great. Because again, the TVC roles tend to pay well. I mean, I want you to get the full-time opportunity, but it's something that you should be thinking about. Referrals, joining Slack and getting to know people is a good opportunity to build up a referral. Yeah, absolutely. So like, Abjay, if you're like building good relationships, right, with people like through DM and you're getting to know each other, yeah, I think that's one thing. I think that is a benefit of the Slack community. So absolutely, it's something I want you to be thinking about. I just think that sometimes, again, this isn't a comment about you. It's just sometimes people just want to get referred and they think it's just an easy thing, but there should be some connectivity there. Do you have any information for L3 SWE roles we'll be hiring up? If so, do you think it'll be early next year? No new data, and I think that it's going to be slow. I think it's going to be slow at least Q1 and Q2 of next year, maybe all of next year. So I haven't heard of them opening it up really, and I don't anticipate that that's going to happen anytime soon. But keep your pulse on it because they are hiring L3 SWEs. They're just less than usual. Yes, you are required to answer a few questions. They'll kind of tag into like, what's your relationship to them? How well do you know them, etc. So they will ask those questions. Okay, I'm going to roll into my sum up. And again, after that sum up, if there's any additional questions, happy to answer them. If you showed up today, and this is your first time, my name is Jeff H. Sipe, businessespracticeinterviews.com. We're doing $100 off of our interview mastery course just till 11:59 p.m. Pacific time today. Coupon code FREEZE. I do one-on-one interview coaching. I do one-on-one negotiation coaching. I know this is going to sound terrible, but I'm not taking a vacation this year. I will be working all through the year, so I will have obviously some pretty good availability. Things for people in my industry are incredibly slow in December, but I'm not going on vacation. I'm working through the rest of the year. So if you need it, I'll be here to help. Okay. Free resources at practiceinterviews.com. The downloads are killer. Like they're good free resources. If you utilize them, they will help you. So utilize them. And then of course, if you want, join the Slack community. Thank you, Jeff. Never wrote or reached HC. And Bruno, I really think, thank you for that. It's all about the hard work you put in. I'm just here for a few simple tips and tricks. My Google recruiter told me that I probably won't be hearing back till January to start Team Match because they don't know when headcount will be yet. That would be common anyway, and that's going to be really common given today's landscape, and don't be surprised if this lingers into February or March. You're welcome. Recently, I heard from the recruiter that I'll be moving forward to team matching phase before HC. I think it's a good idea to message hiring managers on LinkedIn if they're interested. After. You get team matched with somebody after, say, I really enjoyed meeting with you. I like talking about A, B, and C. Looking forward to connecting with you on LinkedIn. After, not before. Some people just don't like it. Okay, so just after is my recommendation. Do you also do or recommend someone to revamp your CV? I do. The free resources page on practiceinterviews.com. I can do it, but I just think it's much more simplistic than people think. The challenge with resumes is everybody wants to be creative, be different, and resume writers tend to have a very specific idea of what a good resume is. I'll tell you what a good resume is. It's got a great summary section. That is a foundation and like a critical item, okay? And then in your experience, a mix of what you do on a day-to-day basis with accomplishments. Just accomplishments aren't going to hit the keywords in an applicant tracking system, so you've got to do both. Those are the two keys. And the last one is your resume needs to be straight up boring. Like creative, unique resumes, I don't know where to look for the information. I have 3 to 5 seconds to decide whether I'm going to spend more time. And if it's creative and there's information here and here and here and here, it's too much for my brain and I'm just going to move on. So definitely use that free resource on practiceinterviews.com. You can always book a practice interview with me and do the resume, but I don't recommend it. I think people can do this on their own. Hey, Jeff, I have my virtual on-site with Google. If I do decide to proceed with another opportunity, Microsoft during HC, what is the best way to stay in contact and maintain a relationship? Just check the cadence. Hey, how often should I check in? Once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month. Just build a cadence with them. Because when you ask them what the cadence should be, how often should I check in? It shows like that you're willing to put yourself in their shoes. It's more of like an empathetic approach. And so just figure out that cadence and just, if they don't respond, just check in once a month, something like that. Okay. Hey, Jeff, I want to switch from product management from engineering. Any resources? Tryexponent.com. Tryexponent.com, my favorite online resource for product. Steven, I know one of the two founders. We did a video together. I think their website is great. We don't agree with everything in regards to our approach, but for product, that's a great place to start. It's a big pivot, okay? So just take your time. Awesome, thank you. And that's a great way to end. Thank you, everybody, so much for being here. You've convinced me to come back live one more time. I'll be back live 10 a.m. Pacific time next Tuesday. If you like what we did today, smash that like button. If you've never subscribed, consider subscribing. Thank you again for being here. And I will answer this last question. Recently went through the interviews for a data center technician, technical infrastructure. It's been 3 weeks since, and my high-level feedback scheduled for this week. Any tips? No tips from the feedback. You just got to wait and see, okay? They don't get back to you, just make sure you're checking in and following up, okay? You're welcome. All right, everybody. I think it's time. Thank you so much for being here. I'll be back next week. Have a great day.